So let's say we want to create our first command line tool. So I'm right here in this folder. I have a bunch of files that I'm going to be using with the CLI tool. And I'm going to create a new folder. So I want to create a new directory with mecdir. I'm going to name this. First of all, let me see if I have. I did this yesterday. Okay, I will create a directory with another name, in-tech. I'm going to go inside that directory, and I'm going to initialize an npm project with npm init or npm y-y to automatically come up with the default settings. If I don't run the -y, it will come up with some questions about the name of the application, the version, the author, the license, and you have to fill in these fields. With -y, it comes up with some default values, so you can quickly come up with a kind of like ready-made boilerplate. So I will use this to initialize. Here's the folder, and you will see that after this command, I'm going to have a package.json. So this is all an npm project is just a folder with a package.json that basically contains the recipe ingredients. You have the dependencies, you have like the name, version, some scripts, the author here, and this is your first npm project. So we have this created here. And then let's go and to the next step, which is to create an entry point. The Copilot came up with this instruction. It said like create an index.js. So let me create an index.js. And then let me put this here. Okay. And it says, put these lines here. And then it explains about this thing here. So basically, this is, as you can see, this is just a simple Node.js script. And what is this thing here? This thing here is called the shebang. It's a special command for Unix-like operating systems, basically for Linux and Mac. For Windows, it doesn't have any use. And this allows us to run this file in a way that it's kind of like similar to how you would run a command line. So basically, if I want to run this index.js, this code, this will be my CLI tool. I have to open up a terminal, and since this is a JavaScript file, I will have to write node index.js. Now, if I want to run this as a command, if I want to make this file like runnable or executable, so instead of running node, I can say index.js. I have to do two things first. I have to change this, change the mode of the file to an executable. So by default, these text files are just read files. They have read permissions. So I want to turn this into an executable. This is a Mac Linux command. So I'm going to use this. Don't worry too much. This is user and then X for executable. So this changes the mode of this file from being user readable to user executable. So I change this file, and now I can access this file from the local folder like this, and it will run my code. So the shebang tool is nice because if I remove it and I run this executable file, you will see I will get a mistake, because by default, when the terminal tries to run a file, it doesn't know how to interpret this. Is this like a Python script? Is this a Node.js script? Is this like a JavaScript? So you cannot really let the terminal decide which interpreter or compiler to use. So by putting this thing here, the terminal knows that it will use this file to interpret the contents of this file. So basically now You don't need to say node index.js. You just say dot slash, which is the local folder, and you have your first command line tool. So this is the like the shebang thing, crazy term also. Now, the thing is that it doesn't have any use case in Windows. So in Windows, you have to do some other things. Now, something that we can do to make this work, to make this command run from anywhere on our system. So I don't want to go inside this folder, in-tech folder, and run this command. Basically, I want to open up a terminal from anywhere in my system. I can go to, let's say, the downloads folder, and I want to run in-tech and have the command, have this file execute, right? So this is how a command line tool should work. You should open the terminal and be able to execute a command from anywhere on your system. So here's how we can do it with a Node.js file. So let me move on to the next section. I have to open up the package.json. I will remove the scripts now. This is we're not going to use it for now. And it says update your package.json to include a bin field. So I go here and I will include a bin field. As you can see, the Copilot automatically has everything I need. So basically, in here, you like define your binary. So bin sort for binary, you define the name of the command. So how do you want to call this command in your system? Like in-tech or I don't know, cool app. This is the name that you will run in your terminal. So if I want to run in-tech in the terminal and execute this file, I will have to add this section in my package.json. And once I have this ready, I move on to the next step. Let me close this one. And now I need, in order to make this globally available, I will have to run the command npm link. So let me run, just exited the terminal. So now I will run npm link. Sometimes you need to run the sudo command, short for super user do. Basically, this command will either work in my case or maybe need some extra permissions. So if you get some errors on Windows or on Linux or Mac, you can see this as a permission because it needs to have access to some special folder. So in my case, I have to run the sudo npm link so that it has like some extra privileges, let's say some administrative privileges. So I will have to run the command. Maybe you don't have to do this on your system. I will provide my password, and now I have the command linked. Now, if I open up the terminal in any folder in my system, so I will go to my downloads and I run in-tech, I immediately see this command being executed and the contents of this file are there. So this is it. This is how we created our first command line tool. We created an index.js. We initialized an npm package. We created an index.js. We defined the name of the command and the file inside this folder that we want to be like executed every time we run this command. We run npm link, and now we have our own in-tech command in our system. If I wanted to make this available to other people, I can let them download. I can push into the GitHub repository, have them download, and then run npm link on their system to have the command on their system as well. Or if you have an account on npm and you go through the sign up process and the login process, I can say npm publish, and I will this will publish the package on npm. After a few minutes, you will be able to go to npm and search for in-tech, let's say, and see that command here. There's no in-tech npm package, so I can use it. If there was an in-tech, I would have to use a different, of course, command. So the one limitation is that there must be no npm packets with that name. So in that case, you have to pick another name. So as you can see, there's no in-tech. There's some in-tech something. So I can use it to publish and have this available on npm. Once it's on npm, people can just run npm install in-tech, and then once it's installed, they will be able to run in-tech and see exactly the things that I see. So I believe this is relatively simple to build your first command line tool and also make it publicly available. Okay, let's see. So now we have our command line tool, and basically what most of the command line tools have is this ability to pass parameters and values. So as you saw earlier with the commands like the cat command, there are commands that you just run like this. So clear will just clear the terminal. There's no other things that you can pass in. With cat, you must supply a file name. So you must supply a file name. And other times you will see that these commands can also accept some parameters. So if I run dash help, that's a parameter. You can see that for the cat command, this dash help provides, let's say, a list of commands and parameters, and then we can use them like to run this command with some special like execution features. So what our command line tools we want to have is that instead of just in-tech, we need the user to be able to pass in a parameter. Like in the Atlas, for example, you can pass a P or the long version pattern and some value like AI or tweet. So in order for the CLI tool to have more features, you need to supply these patterns. And sometimes you can pass also many patterns, like a pattern and then model, something like that. You can pass parameters to your command line tools. Now, you can do this with native Node.js functionality. Let me try this. Let me have the AI help me to remember. So how to access command line arguments. Okay, so this is Copilot, suggesting something. So let me, you can see for this type of things that I already know is really cool, because I just have the Copilot automatically, write this for me. But the first time I have to go and search the documentation to actually see what each of these commands is doing. If I have no idea what the process is, what this argv is, what this slice is, you have to go and read the documentation. Also, it's really nice that we have this hover ability. So for example, if I don't know about the slice command, I can hover and I can see like a full description of this command. It says it returns a copy of a section of an array, and it gives me what this slice does. It has like this optional parameters, 1, 2 arguments basically, which I can pass. So I can read about this through this hover command. So read about them. Otherwise, your AI might be giving you the wrong suggestions. I already know, I read about this, so let me run this. You can see that there are no command line arguments because I didn't pass anything. If I pass an argument, you will see there's an array of arguments. So this guy here picks up the values that I put after the command. So if I put B, you will see the things that I pass are appended, the space separated things are appended to these args. So I can access and I can say, let's say in-tech. If I wanted to create the atlas, let's see. So I get these things here, and I can say, okay, since this is an array, I can say if args, the first is uh, pattern, pattern option is set. So if the first element to this array, this thing is pattern, then I do something about patterns. So I get the second argument. So if args one, if it's there, I can say console log pattern value. So this is how I pick up the command line arguments. I use this process .argv. They use slice because we will see there's some other things that are included. This lets you just see the parameters after the in-tech. So now I can run pattern AI, and I can see that I can run some cool things with patterns. But if I run something else, I just see this command line. So then I have to start writing these conditionals, args, if this is model, then console log model is set. So let's just, sometimes Copilot is a little bit annoying. It keeps suggesting. So now I have two options in my command line tool. Either I can pass pattern and do something with some pattern, or I can pass in the model and do something with, So I have two options: model or pattern. And of course, I need to pass some kind of value. So we have our command line tool, and we have our parameter parser, which built on top of Node.js. There's no library installed. There's just these native capabilities of Node.js. It's usually useful to return or stop the Node.js script once you finish parsing and executing a specific parameter. So I will use process.exit. Let's see what this does. I will use Copilot once again. There is this explain. So it gives you, well, okay. Okay, let's stick to the summary. In summary, process.exit is a powerful method for terminating a Node.js process. It should be used judiciously, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So as you can see, Copilot helps me understand my code. Basically, this stops the execution of the script. The code will stop here, and all the rest of the code will not be executed. So if the user type pattern, they will run this code, which is related with something that has to do with a pattern, and then the script will end there. Then I will do the same thing here. And usually what you want to do is, if the user didn't pass an option, either pattern or model, you supply kind of like the available command. So if they did a mistake, a typo, or maybe they didn't type anything, you want to show them what are the available options, especially if they're new to the command line tool. So console log, here are the available commands. As you can see, Copilot is really helpful. So I come up with a console log. I don't need to process exit here because there's no other code. So in this case, if the user doesn't type anything, or if they do it like a typo, they will just see the available commands and they can fix their typos, or they can run one of the available commands or parameters. So let me test this out. So in tech, we have the help. Okay, I know that I can run pattern. So, and I have to supply some kind of value. So I don't know, tweet for now. So now there's a code that does something with this pattern. And then there is the model, blah, blah. So this is all you need to create your command line tool. Like we saw the setup, we saw the boilerplate, we saw how to make this available globally on your system, and then you just come up with what your command line tool should be doing, and then you start creating these parameters so that the user can pick up the features that they want. Now, this is like a basic setup, but for some simple tools, you will see that this is totally fine. You can use the args to pick up the things that you want. But as your application becomes more complex, and you add more features and maybe some optional features, some things like long help output, you probably want to use like a package for managing these parameters. So for this one, I'm going to keep this as like a very basic example. So basic node CLI, going to place the code here, and I'm going to use some two packages. So one is commander, and the other is I'm not going to use the inquirer. I'm going to use let me see, npm, is it prompts, I think. Yeah, okay, so this is it. I prefer this one, so let me fix this is what the Copilot came up with, but I wanted a different package. So these are these two libraries, these two npm packages that help you write CLI tools by providing some really cool useful tools to do all these parameters setting up, and then provide some nice outputs for the users. Especially the prompts is really cool because it allows the user to use some drop-down menus from the CLI, or pick an option. So it's really cool. Let me show you what it does basically. So it gives you this nice selection thing. So if you want your user to supply, let's say, their age, it shows this command. The user can like press the up and down key to increment the number. So there's some really cool inputs. And there's some other, like it has a lot of options. So somewhere at the end, it has all the types. So it allows you to enter a text input, a password. So as you type, this is hidden. This is really cool. Hidden field, numbers, and then you have some other things like confirmation, no, yes, selection. So basically, really, really cool things. So let's use these two libraries to create something. So let me show you, like I use this for Atlas. So when I run Atlas setup, is it, let me see, setup. Okay, so when I run Atlas setup, it lets, let me move this. It lets you pick the language model. So I'm okay. Now the terminal is okay. I'm not sure why it's not okay. Basically, let me see if I can run it. I will run it through another terminal because this is okay. Atlas setup. So it gives you this nice picker, which lets you pick the provider or the language model. So this is really nice. It's going to be very difficult for you to create something like this for the terminal. This this nice highlighted colors and pressing the up and down keys. So this is what this prompts package gives you, the ability to have this nice looking picker. So you pick your provider, then you pick It asks you whether you have Olama installed, and then you pick the model. So basically, it's really cool. This is what prompts gives you. I have to find a way to make this sticky thing in the terminal go away. Anyway, so let's install these two packages. So we have commander and prompts, and you will see that they will be installed as dependencies on our package.json. So we have two new dependencies. And then I will use the code that Copilot gave me and go through the code just to understand and explain what's happening. So let's copy the code. Once again, remember, I've already used this code. I've already used Commander without an AI tool. So I know what these things are doing. So it's pretty safe to copy, paste, and run the code. If I had no idea about this code, I would have to very extensively do some search and reading, because maybe this is going to hurt my system. You never know what commands can come up from an AI. So always make sure that you use the code carefully. So, okay, let me format. Here's what this code is doing. Let's go through step by step. So we have the ship bank at the top for Linux and Mac. We import something called the program from the commander. So the commander package exports this program thing that we're going to be using extensively, and the prompts exports this default prompts export. Now, this one is basically for supplying like parameters, these dash things, and prompts is for these nice selector speakers once you run the command. So this is for the command line arguments, basically, what you type when you start using your or these things. The commander takes care of all these things here as the arguments to the command, and the prompts actually takes care of the these things. The in tool, let's say, features or selections or pickers. So that way we're going to be using both of them. So first we're going to be using the program. If you go to the documentation of program, you will see of Commander, you will see that you get the program object exported, and then you start changing these functions. So basically, you start with a dot version, which is a way to set the version of your application. I usually start with some 0.1 version. If this is beta, if this is something experimental, I start with this version. It lets you supply a description, and then you configure your options, your parameters through this way. So here's the option, which is important. You pass in the shorthand version of the parameter. So in this case, -n would be the shorthand, and -name would be the long one. And then you supply either the optional or required value. So in this case, the user must supply either n or -name and must supply a value. This option, this parameter works with an extra value because this lets you set your name. We will see that there are parameters that don't require a value, or this value can be optional. So you run this pipeline with program, version, description, one or more options, and then you complete the pipeline with the dot parse, which basically takes in the process argv that we used before in the previous script, and this thing passes these command line arguments to the program, and this takes care of creating all the necessary options. So instead of having to write the commands that we wrote on the other script, if options and then whatever, it makes our life a little bit easier by setting up these options this way. So this is how you set up your version, description, and options of your program. Let me now console log the options and the program here. Come on. And see what we get up to this point, and then we'll see what Copilot gave us for the rest of the option. So if I now run the command without any arguments, I see that the program picks up the program, the program object, and then it runs this method, which basically gets the options that I have passed. So if I pass nothing in here, this will be an empty object. Let me try A. You will see there's an error here because this is something that's not expected. Let's try and run n. So when I type n, because this is required, this value is required, it gives me this error that option does n is missing a value. So if I want to use does n, I should be using some value here. Okay, this means that this option requires a value, and these anchor brackets mean that this is a required value. It's not optional. We will see how we can use an optional value. So I need to pass either does and costas, and once I pass a valid option, this thing will give me like the options, and the options contain the here's the option name. So basically, this thing will be the key, and this thing here is the value. Okay. So now let's see if now the options contain a property name. So if I passed dot name, I will see this name. Let me add another option so we can see how we can add more options. So let's say I will ask a does help. So for this one, as you can see, I'm passing both the shorthand and the long version. So either does aids or does help, but I have no required arguments after the command. So this requires no extra arguments. And let's see what happens when I run aids. So I get, as you can see here, the options contain the property of the pattern of the pattern of the option that I used, help. If I use n, you will see its name. So this thing here gets passed or appended to this options object. So this is where I can find all the options that were passed by the user. If I run both of them in either the short or the long version, you will see that both of them will end up on these options. So now the options object contain both the name and the help. So now I know that the user has entered both name and help. For help, I just get true, which means the user used the help pattern. For the name, I use I see the value. If I wanted to add help value, like a required value, I don't know, whatever. Now I make this option to have a required value. If I try to run now help without a value, I will get this error, which means I need to type something for whatever. Blah, blah. And I get, this thing here. So this is how you pass in an option. This is how you pass an option with a required value. And then let's also see an option with an optional value. So what should we do? I have no idea. Uh, Zip. Okay. I don't know. What should I do? Let's say, okay, I option and then, something. So in this case, if the value after the option is enclosed in anchor brackets, it's required. If it's enclosed in square brackets, it's optional, which means I can run this command with or without the extra value. So let's try this. I can say in-tech option, totally fine. Option some value, or of course the long um thing. So in this case, I can use this with or without the extra value. It's up to you to decide what you need. And one last option that we have here with commander options is that I can do this thing. So if I try to run this with space separated values, you will see that it gives me this error. It says you passed like 5 arguments to the option, but I expected like 0. Basically, this is optional, so it says 0. So I passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the extra values, whereas this requires just one value. So it says I'm expecting 0 or 1 value, one optional value, but you supplied, five more. Now, the error message is a little bit misleading, but it basically says that, let me run this with the name, which is a little bit. Now we get an extra argument. I expect one value, and now this is parsed as 2 values. When you use space, you separate the values. So these options have can only accept one value. This one either no or one value, and this one must have one value. You cannot use like 2 words or 3 words, or something like cat, dog, mouse. Let's say you wanted to run something with multiple values. So if you want your option to be able to parse 2 or more values, you have another option here. So let's say T for tag, and then we will make this required. So now this means that the anchor brackets means that this option, this value is required. So if you need to use tag, you need to supply at least one value. It will complain, and then you can supply one. You can see now we see an array here, not a string, and you can say 2, 3, and all these get appended. So if you want some command to be run with multiple values, you can like pass these 3 dots here, and this basically creates an array of values. So this option accepts now multiple values. And so with this setup with Commander, we have everything we need to set up the available options in any way we want. We then parse the options object, and then we start doing pretty much the same thing that we did with the other file. So if we have the user type name, we can say, let me see if I need to. Okay, so we say get the options name. So remember, if the user types does name something, this will be something like this, right? An object, the key is going to be the name of the option, and the value is going to be the value that the user typed. So if this is available, if this is not undefined, it means we have some value here. Um, in this case, this can be let's say if options help. Um, so we console log our help, let's say. And now, as you can see, Copilot has this program output help. We'll see what this does. So in this case, I don't need to do something with the value because options.help does not expect a value. So options.help will be this help and true. But in this case, I can use the value. So let's process exit. So now I have two options. When the user types name, I'm going to console log the value that they typed and then end the program here. If they have entered what is help, I will be console logging help information, and then we'll see what this thing does, and then stopping the execution. And then, of course, I will have to also, let's say, if options, let's check the tags, which is a little bit. So let's see what Copilot does. Okay. So in this case, I will display the tags. The thing to keep in mind is that for all these options, you need to supply the full name. So this means this call will run if the user has typed either -n, the shorthand version, or the long version. Okay, so you don't have to write if options name or I don't know options.n or something like that. That .name capture both the shorthand and the long version. Okay, so help option tag. So tag, not tags. So let's see how this goes. So in-tech T123 tags, it's undefined. Let's see. And then we have options tag. So you get these values and you can do something with them. Or you can use the help. So in-tech help. And you get, as you can see, the program output help. It's a nice helper function that basically picks up all the options that you have defined and the version, and it gives you this nice like output. So you don't have to create this yourself, just like we did before. So it picks up all the options and it creates this nice helper output, which guides the user to select the available options. So this is pretty handy. And then we can have the name. So in-tech name, and then we go here. We hello with the value that we passed, and then we exit, and that's it. So that's the options part. And now let me show you like the prompts. So let's use the prompts with the option. So if options, so if the user typed the option, and they must supply some, they have some optional value. We'll see. And I'm going to copy this code, which was given to me by Copilot. And this is the code that you can get from the official documentation of the prompts package. So basically, if you go to their GitHub repo or their NPM page, this is the example that they give. They say, if you want to use the prompts, you will have to use this code. And this is how you pass in your prompts. This will display a text prompt which will allow the user to pick up like a name. So we will run this code. You will see some nice output, and then from the response we will get the name that the user has picked. So this is corresponds to this property. So let me just comment this. Okay, let's see how the prompts work, and we'll go. So in-tech option, and we get, we get this. I'm not sure why we, okay, it's because I have this process exit here. Okay, I will remove these process exits because they exit the script, but we need the script to be kept running in this case, because this requires the user to pick a value. Otherwise, this will just immediately exit. So, and now it's the script is not exiting, and we can say something. So you can see this is much nicer than the normal console log. It has some colors here, some nice prompts. So you basically let you display this message. It expects a text value, and then it will store the value that you provide into a name property, and this will become available in the response object as .name. So hello, and then you pick up. And from here, depending on the needs of your command line tool, you will have to go to the prompts documentation and pick up another prompt, another type of a prompt. So let's pick up one. Let's pick up the select. So basically, you grab the code from here, and let me see how I can. Let's see. I need to pass more than one example. Let me find the documentation from objects. Okay. So basically, if you want to have two or more prompts, you pass an array to the prompts with one or more of these objects. So you go right here. For all these examples, you can grab the object, and then you can paste it in this prompts array. Or where was that example? This is a single prompt. This is like a prompt chain. So let's see the chain. So we'll make this an array. Let's see. So I will make this an array of prompts. So this will provide just one prompt, text, and that's it. But if I make this an array, now I can have two or more prompts chained together, one after the other. So I will have the first prompt come up, and then the second one, which is a picker. You can take a look at the documentation to see how you can define your own selections here. So I will console log the name, and then I will console log let me name this color. So this is name, and you picked color. So basically, for every prompt, you provide the name, and then you can access it through the response object. So this all runs the prompts one after the other, picks up the values, and then it gives you access to these values through the response object. So let's see if this works. So let's clear, and we have our name, and now we have this nice, selector. You can also have some options disabled. Let's pick red. So now we have Costas, the first prompt option, and the hexadecimal color for the color. So basically, this is the options that you see. And once you select one, you get this value back, and this comes up as the response dot color. So you can run these really nice prompts. Once again, this is how I created like the setup command for Atlas. So one picker, pick the provider. Second prompt, which is like a selection, like a boolean, and no, yes. The second one is a select. Once again, you pick, then you move on, and you have to supply some other options to set up your tool, which is pretty cool. And before we wrap up, let me give you some cool things that you can do with like the power of Copilot and AI. So once again, this is something that I did a while back. So I'm going to use something really cool. I'm going to let this command line tool transform some images. So I went on to the Copilot and I said, let me let this tool accept image files and transform them in, let's say, one way or another. So I will create an option that will accept one or more images files, and then it will transform them and turn them into lower scale black and white images. So I let's see if I can do it here. So I will open Command I. So use the Sharp library. I Googled and I found that one of the popular NPM packages for image manipulation is called Sharp. So I say package to accept image inputs and downscale them and turn them into black and white images. So if I was going to do that without AI, I've done it quite a while back. I had to check the documentation, find the formatting, the APIs and stuff. Now, because I already did this and I know how the code looks like, I can use the AI to create this code for me. But if this was the first time I do this, I would be very careful with the output of the AI. So let's run this command. Let's see if it I can accept. Okay, and let's see what it did. So it has imported the Sharp. This is an npm package for manipulating images. This is the file system node module. This is a built-in node module for accessing the file system, the files. And this is for path manipulation, for reading and writing file paths. And then it created this option here, which basically accepts an image. Sorry, this accepts the option value. So I have to supply a value. It picks up and then it does something with this path resolve. So if you not know what path resolve does, is you hover and it says that resolve the right one. Okay, this is not helpful. There's no like clear description. Okay, so I would Google for the path resolve. Basically, it kind of like resolves the file path. So this is the input file. Then it creates an output file path because it's going to write to a new file. And then it uses the Sharp module, which accepts an input and then uses these commands to resize to a different size, grayscale, and then it writes to a file. Once again, this is the API of this Sharp package. You have to go and check the documentation. I've already worked with this package, so I'm pretty confident with the output that Copilot gave me. But you should read each line and try to understand what it does. So we have the option. Let me create. Copilot didn't create. Let me see if it. Okay, so as you can see, it automatically inferred that it needs to add this this option with a required value. So now let's see. Um, let's see how it works. So I have some images here. So I have this. So I have this image. I'm going to use it as an input, and let's see if our tool works. So I'm going to say in-tech image. It's going to complain because it could not find the sharp module. The Copilot added the code, but it forgot to tell me that I have to run npm install. So this is an external module. This is not a Node internal native module. So I have to install it. So let's npm install sharp. Okay, let me clear and run image. I need to supply an argument. So I will, let me go to the parent directory where I have the images, and let me run in-tech with mountain layer 1. So if this works as expected, this code should create an output JPEG, which is going to be the like a lower resolution grayscale version of this image. So let's see if this works. Image processed. This looks good. I can see the output JPEG. And as you can see, it has created an image which contains like a black and white 300 by 300 pixel version of the image, which is pretty cool because with just a few lines of code, we were able to create a tool, a command line tool that can accept one or more images. In our case, it's just one image, but you can very easily make this accept even a folder full of hundreds or thousands of images. And then you can do something like batch processing a lot of images using a simple command line tool. So this is the power of the command line tools. And all this thing is really a few lines of code, right? So if we take apart the other options, a command line tool for processing hundreds or thousands of images is just almost like 10 or 20 lines of code, which is like amazing. Let's see if we can do some watermark. Watermark is when you add a kind of like a special text on top of the image. So how to watermark the image with the in-tech text. Okay, I have to now trust this code. I've never seen this composite. I will trust for now because this is a very popular package. But be careful. Let's see. For example, in this case, I would be very careful if the command line tool or this option was affecting a file. Like if I wasn't creating a new file, but I was processing and already and overriding or replacing a file, it would be I would be very careful because if this does something wrong, perhaps I will lose this file. So be very, very careful with the commands that you get from AI. So make sure that the command that you see doesn't mess up with your file system or something. So be very careful. I think it's pretty safe to delete this and run the command again. Let's see what it does. And we have in-tech right here, which is really cool. Now, I think it's just a few Copilot questions until we get this command line tool to accept a folder full of images and then turn all these images into a watermarked version for something. So this is really cool because you can use this for example, there's sometimes you build like a shop, an e-shop or an e-commerce site, and the customer gives you like 1,000 pictures, large scale pictures of products, and you have to convert them into lower scale and watermark them or add some kind of like logo or branding thing. So this would be very handy in that case. So that just take a lot of images and automatically manipulate them or process them and create some thumbnails or some lower version or highly compressed images. So this has some really actual use value, this example.